chairpersons, Dr. Sadashiv Rao, and thank you to the organizers for asking me to speak on one of the topics that I'm passionate about. Uh, of course, would have loved to see more people here. It's almost like preaching to the choir. Everybody here, I'm sure, uses POCT and is well versed with that. But I'm hoping many of the others who are joining us on the virtual platform will get the advantage of learning a little more about COVID, learning a little more about the POC times during the COVID, which has become a larger boon. So we clearly have seen that people who are elderly, people with diabetes, people with obesity, hypertension have been the ones who've been extremely vulnerable to poor outcomes from COVID. There's obviously no direct link in terms of increased incidence of infection by COVID in patients with these comorbidities, but once you have that, the morbidity has been much higher, and so has the mortality. Now, people with diabetes face greater risk. The frequency of diabetes, as I said, among patients developing COVID-19 and diabetes require hospitalization or intensive care. This is 2 to 3 times higher than in the overall population. And mortality rates are also higher. So clear, strong link, especially diabetes, hypertension, obesity. People with diabetes, when we focus, face greater risk. Obesity itself is a risk factor. Rates of severe illness are higher. And complications of diabetes in patients who those suffering with renal failure, comorbid conditions, peripheral vascular disease, coexisting cancers are again have been the worst prone to poor outcomes. So every time that we see the data of COVID, even though the numbers have decreased, let's say if I talk about Mumbai, we talk about 250 to 300 every day. Deaths in the last couple of weeks have been 5 to 6. You look at the column, it will talk about most of these would be above 60 and would be having comorbidities. So that's what at least the BMC gives out the list on a daily basis. And I've been tracking that, and that's how the situation is. Well, when you look at patients with diabetes and obesity, there are many more problems that we talk about. Respiratory dysfunction, the chance of coexisting complications, the higher metabolic risk because of insulin resistance, dyslipidemia. All of this has contributed to worsening outcomes in patients developing COVID. People with poorly managed diabetes face greater risk. And I'm sure all of you have seen that over the last 1.5, 2 years, there has been a kind of trend where people who didn't see us, our patients with diabetes who may not have seen us for last 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, started coming back because of the fear that, with COVID around, I need to be in better control. What happens if I get COVID? And I think that's been important, because the initial belief was, how can I stay away from COVID? I think today the better understanding is that I am going to get COVID one day or the other. So let me be better prepared for the same, whether it is through vaccination, whether it is through better control of my condition. I think that's how the belief should be going ahead, that this disease is here to stay, and it's better that I protect myself in terms of control of my disease and increasing my immunity. So diabetes management during COVID-19, well, what was really required was that glycemic control should be optimized. Special attention was required for people who had poor control, who had diabetes with additional risk factors, and also the fact that they may have had undiagnosed diabetes. So there have been a lot of people who've been diagnosed, to the extent that you started believing that everybody that there was a huge quantum of this new entity called COVID-related diabetes. Today we know that there is no clarity. There may have been some genuine cases which developed diabetes post-COVID. However, predominant ones were the ones which were missed earlier. Unfortunately, a lot of patients admitted didn't have their HbA1c, and we really don't know the fact that for how long they've had undiagnosed diabetes. The reality however, has been that in spite of knowing that you require tighter control, people have actually stayed at home. Even today, I have met colleagues here, physicians, whom I saw today also at lunch, were completely masked, and I said, you probably not had COVID. A lot of us here are a little more carefree because we've been through the journey. And they said, yes, today is actually the first time in the last year and a half I have moved out to a meeting. So that, if you can understand this in the physicians, amongst the population and patients, this fear has been far more about moving out. And hence, we saw this advent and a huge spike in the telemedicine consultations. Even now, that continues because of the fear of not moving out. When we look at the overall challenge, right? So COVID has been one challenge in overall aspect. But even if we move COVID out of the picture and we look at the overall challenge in managing diabetes and the metabolic conditions, the overall rates of people achieving success has been poor. We look at some of the US data, even prior to the pandemic, those individuals who could manage well their sugars, their blood pressure, and the cholesterol, the ABC, has been only about 26.7%. You look at the different epidemiological data for diabetes control, A1C less than 7% from India, it would vary from a 19% to a 28%. So overall control continues to be poor. one of the reasons for that is the compliance with recommended frequency of testing. Now, when we talk about testing, be it SMBG, be it HbA1c, or be it CGM, I think in terms of acceptance and adapting to that frequency is extremely poor. We will always argue that this is a self-pay market and not an insurance market, but when you even look at the data from the US, it hasn't been followed at the frequency that it should have been. So less than 7% were actually tested at the recommended frequency of HbA1c, and this has a very strong impact on the outcome of what we are seeing today. So treatment frequency, which means the monitoring frequency, is also important. 70% of the patients tested and treated according to ADA guidelines met the HbA1c goals. Only 30% met A1C goals if they did not meet guidelines. So diabetes is a condition where only if you see, you get to know. Most people will live by that I was feeling okay, I've been feeling fine, so I didn't check. And not checking has led to these problems. Importantly, coming down to our topic, which is point of care testing, this has been found to increase compliance with testing frequency and reducing HbA1c. All of us who use point of care testing now have clearly seen the increase in the more recommended frequency, patients doing it more regularly than they ever did when they had to go to a laboratory and do the testing and so on. So pre-POCT, again, this is the data from a center which is looking at the ADA compliant testing frequency. Pre-POCT, 66%, which I would also say is good. If you look at a lot of clinics here which do not do POCT, the HbA1c testing frequency among their patients would be probably less than 40%. This also has improved only in the last few years. And you look at post-POCT, 95%. If I have to talk about my own data from our clinic, the amount of patients who would be currently doing post-POCT would be close to 90%. That the HbA1c has been available. So advantage of HbA1c point of care testing, especially in COVID times, well, this enables everything happening at one visit. So that fear that I have to visit another laboratory, will it be crowded, my parents are elderly, I don't want to take them, and so on and so forth. We heard all of that, and patients have stayed away from testing. They did a lot of teleconsultation. They did that only with the means of SMBG, that few who could do that. But at least now, as things are opening up, people are ready to visit the doctor's clinic. Yet they have apprehensions about going to the laboratories and the diagnostic centers. So what better than offering them the entire care at one center, which definitely includes the means of basic testing which is done through the point of care, be it the lipid profile, be it the HbA1c, be it the Micral, and so on, whatever POC offers. In fact, I was speaking to the colleagues here from the industry, and I was saying POC has evolved. Today, in fact, the need is that we need more tests to be offered through the POC, and I would be very happy to use those. You know, the moment you have your thyroid profiles, your creatine, buns coming in, it's going to be a boon for our patients that we can do that. So point of care testing, what actually offers is a more patient-centric approach. Very often in the past, doctors and physicians have had an approach and an attitude that I am recommending you to do the test. It is your duty to do the test and come. If you don't get the test, there's nothing I can do about it. POC takes the focus away from being a more directed answer or more vague responsibility, allowing the patient the benefit of, if you haven't done that, it's fine, we are here to do it for you. So it becomes more patient-centric. In the clinics today, the system is such that most places would have a little dedicated center, a kind of triage form where the patient's point of care testing is done. Before even the patient comes to the physician's chamber, all of this is done and kept ready, and which makes it very, very easy for us to see the patient with the reports and make a treatment decision, as compared to in the pre-POC days when the patient comes in and would come and said, ki, I was traveling, I did one fasting or did not do the test. Okay, I can't make a decision. Today, if I see a patient with just some SMBG value, and if I don't have the means of doing an HbA1c to make a treatment change, it's impossible for me to do that. I will have to ask the patient to go, if I didn't have a POC, to the laboratory, then either come back or give a call 2 days later. Then that patient is struggling, saying, called, nobody picked up, I have sent a mail, and all of that. So today, the workflow with the POC completely changes. And here we have in comparison that if somebody had to go to the central laboratory, well, they would go to the lab, then the patient again goes a second time to collect the reports, then would probably be coming down to the clinic, having a consultation. So this is a matter of a few days. It's a process. As compared to a point of care, the patient fixes up an appointment with the physician he desires to see, comes to the clinic. Within those span of 15 to 30 minutes, all the tests are done. The physician reviews the reports, guides the patient, makes treatment changes, gives the prescription, and off the patient goes. And that's how most patients are now gotten used to. Now, this is some data from our clinic experiences that we did. So this have been some of the interventions during to combat COVID-19. Besides the glass, you can see all the dump in the background. Also, there was also part of the COVID affection at the centers. So the patient arrives, gives the files and reports at the receptions, confirms the appointment and the waiting time. Then there is testing in the another testing room, where, as you can see here, you can see the point of care machines, a dedicated nurse who's going to be doing the testing. And then, after all the other physical and vitals are tested, we have had a lipid profile and A1C done. And then the patient is here with the physician to get the further treatment, followed by the diabetes educator further counseling the patient on the need for lifestyle, diet, and regular monitoring and follow-up. So this is the smart flow. You have your staff which is collecting the samples. Again, this is simple. It doesn't require any centrifuging. It doesn't require even a trained laboratory technician, because this is all finger prick methods and a simple means of testing, and of course repeated quality control done on the machines. So POC testing improves patient satisfaction at all these aspects, whether it is the collection process, it is the confidence in the process, overall disease management, and of course cost also. There is benefit in doing the point of care testing for the patient as well as the center or the physician. Quickly, I've been asked to show a slide, and my apologies because my entire slide set which I modified got currently lost. So this is something which I have, and I will not be able to change the modification. So Mrs. XYZ, female, sedentary homemaker, had diabetes for 13 years, 18 months, and you'll see a lot of typical patients who land up at the clinic because they needed to undergo a procedure. Here, this lady needed to landed up with the ophthalm who said need a cataract. This patient comes, has a random done of 258. The ophthalm of course says go to your doctor, get your diabetes under control, and then come. The patient lands up in that state with just a random. At the clinic, using the point of care device, we do an HbA1c and lipid profile at least. The HbA1c comes up as 11.1%, and the lipids telling me that the LDL is somewhere close to 124, 126. So such a patient, now if you would have come in just with a 258, do I further modify the orals? Even if I was to suggest insulin, the patient will very often tell you that my one reading is 258, doctor, give me more time, why don't you increase the tablets, I'll come back. You do an HbA1c which tells you it's 11.1, somebody who's already on a combination of 3 or 4 oral drugs, there is no point in waiting here. This patient requires insulin. That HbA1c of 11.1 also works for the patient and their caregivers in terms of family to accept that yes, I need to undergo surgery. Even otherwise, with an A1C of 11.1 with 13 years of diabetes, I need insulin. So we do that and also put the patient onto the statin. Patient follows up in 4 weeks, has good control, 133, 178 is good to go. Patient goes ahead and gets the cataract surgery done. What after that? Any guesses? Patient disappears. Patient disappears, right? Cataract done, mera kaam ho gaya. So patient disappears. All tablets, insulin is gone, statins gone, everything gone. So wonderful. That's exactly what happened, Meenal. This patient then follows up recently now in November 2021 and comes with extreme weakness, dizziness, also has little paronychia or pus, excess urination, all the works. Patient had stopped the insulin and statin. Again, as I said, apologies, I had changed all this what my staff gave into the generic names, but it's all gone. And this time the patient's sugar is much higher, 392, and nothing else. So everything was high. We repeated the HbA1c, and this time the HbA1c at the clinic was 10.4. So this was 10th of November. I'm talking about 3 days back, as you can see from the software data. Right, so here the sugars are high. The A1c is 10.4. The lipids, the LDL this time is 146. So it is because of the convenience and the quick turnaround time with the point of care that we are able to give optimum care, almost on my last slide. So here again, this allows me to tell the patient and counsel that, look, you can't be stopping your insulin, you can't be stopping your statin, let's get going again with the treatment and get started. So point of care has become an integral part of many clinics, and I would urge that those who have not yet used this, change the system. This is convenient for the patients, it has a great turnaround time, and for me, I can't imagine running my clinic or doing the work that I do without having point of care devices, and would in fact urge that the point of care devices improve and allow us to do more tests. So let me summarize by saying people with diabetes are more likely to experience severe complications and higher mortality if they contract COVID-19. even without COVID-19, the risk always looms high. People with well-managed diabetes have lower risk of poor outcomes. Complications of diabetes, including renal, cardiac, and PVDs, can be additive risk factors and call for more specific attention. During the COVID-19 pandemic, regular diabetes management is disrupted, as we've all seen that and experienced that. By using the point-of-care testing for A1C or lipid profile or any of that, you are able to reduce the number of places that your patients have to visit to get that basic minimum care. Point of care enhances patient-centric care and offers distinct advantage over laboratory testing, offers shorter workflow, simpler test process, less turnaround time, and more importantly, the ability for a physician to make decisions rather than ask them to keep coming back or calling you back. So with that, I thank you again for inviting me here, and thank you the organizers, and if there are any questions, I'm happy to take them.